welcome to Toffee TV. It's the Tuesday topic. Baz is trying to do some hand movements to get it going. I don't think it's it. We're going to be talking about Tom Davies, the under-23s. Should they be brought through? Some topics that were suggested this week that didn't make it were: why are Everton crap at corners, and why do Everton water the pitch when it's raining? All valid discussion points.
I think that the water in the pitch won't have legs.
I think we could do an hour on why are Everton crap on corners, but we've decided to do the under-23s and why aren't players from that under-23 team getting stepped up into the first team? Because for me, it's a no-brainer that some of these lads should be getting a go in the squad now, Baz.
Yeah, it looks as though the squad needs freshening up. It needs a new impetus, doesn't it? It's very stale. It's very samey. The manager's coming. He's brought 4 players in himself. But us as fans, I think it all adds to the flatness of everything that's going on at the moment. Is that we've seen, we touched on it in the final word, we've seen what these other players can offer, and it's very little. So we want to see something different. I think it's very easy to go, let's bring him and through from the 23s and we'll be brilliant, because they're brilliant at 23 level. But someone like Tom Davies, who's every time he's played in the first team hasn't looked out to play.
Yeah, I think this goes back from last season, obviously. Tom Davies, Kieran Dowell, Liam Walsh, all emerging. John Joe Kenny, Callum Connolly.
Connolly, yeah.
Who they all got, well, some of them got...
Walsh didn't, but the
others got chance first team in and around the squad later on in the season. And, you know, raving reports about some of them in the I mean, Kieran Dowell, some of the goals we've seen him score last season. These... You know, someone like Kieran Dowell stepped up. Maybe it's physically he's not quite ready yet, but I think we were all very excited. I think we all felt like this season, we've said it ourselves. We thought the likes of Hibbert would go out, the likes of Osman would go out, the likes of Pienaar would go out, and they'd be replaced by the likes of John Joe Kenny, Tom Davies, Kieran Dowell. We all felt that, but it just never quite worked out like that. And I think a lot was made in the summer about Ronald Koeman coming in, and a lot of people at Southampton were saying, oh, he's not one for youth. You know, he doesn't really bother with youth. It's all short-term gains. You know, and it has been that way. I mean, he has made sort of short-term, not short-term signing as such, but bringing people like Ashley Williams in and people who are in the peak more than anything else. Yeah, he's done that to try and get quick-fire results, which have worked to a degree. You know, especially with someone like Ashley Williams. Do you think that's been to the detriment of not bringing these lads into the squad?
No, because he's got to look after them. We wanted as fans, we want to see him. He's got to look after himself first and foremost, doesn't he? He's got to be here, do well enough here to keep his job, to see the other people bearing fruition. He wanted to come in. We were painfully undercooked for whatever reason last season, whether the players weren't good enough. And he knew what he had to do. He knew how he had to tighten us up. And he's done that to a degree. And maybe we're all guilty of expecting too much too soon from him. Maybe that's why we're feeling flat at the moment. I mean, we're 7th in the Premier League at the minute. We're not a million miles away from the top 4. I think the top 4 is beyond us in terms of quality. We don't score enough goals. But we're still in the hunt, if you like, for a Europa League place, which is where he put us at.
Yeah.
So things are going okay. It may look a lot different come the end of December because we're going into some really fit. The only thing I can say is the players will generally raise the game against those top sides, and the 3 games we've got coming up at Goodison are at Goodison, so that kind of, the crowd can play a part in that. In terms of the team, we've seen Dowell last year, and he, like you rightly said, he scored, some of the goals he scored in that, the under-23s were just incredible last season, or the 21s as it was last year, absolutely incredible. Goals from the halfway line, clearly got lots of talent, the kid. We've seen him, you know, the famous game, I think it might have been Bournemouth, where Martinez had him stood next to him for half an hour and put him on for 4 minutes. But David Unsworth started against Norwich, and he looked a lot better in that game. He was involved in James McCarthy's goal as well, looked a lot quicker and sharper. And Ronald Koeman and obviously Tom Davies played in that game as well. Davies for me looks as though he's the one who is physically ready. Because he's not about skill and needing to beat players, and that. He's just a fella who's just going to go, doesn't care. His socks are mid-calf. Look at the Barnett. You've got to be confident to pull a Barnett off like that.
Shaggy.
From West Derby. Look at him. He's got a goatee. Not a goatee.
Yeah,
a goatee.
Clearly a goatee.
A goatee. He's got hair that's just dragged back and long and curly. No, not a full cat head. You've got to be confident to bounce around West Derby and that.
You've got to be.
You know what I mean? And that's what he looks like. He looks like he just gets on and goes, I'm having a go. We come on at Chelsea the other week, we were 5-0 down. Didn't care.
Well,
and he looks physically, but Kieran Dowell in the summer, in the pre-season, just looked a little bit short. And maybe that's why Ronald Koeman's looked and gone, not yet.
But you mentioned there about the squad. These for me, I mean, we mentioned it again in the final word, these to me are short-term. The wins straight off the bat, because the squad isn't good enough. And we've tried different combinations and brought people in and given them multiple chances, and you just think there's a couple of lads here, at least, that are waiting for that, you know, they're waiting for that chance. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Holgate. You know, he stepped up this season, started the season really well, first couple of games, and we haven't really seen much of him since. And you're thinking he's another one, right, that we've seen in the first team, and that makes you start to sort of wonder about Koeman, then, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And yeah, I know what you're saying. He's got to be looking after himself in terms of he's got to have the squad right, but I still think there's room for these lads. I really do.
Mason Holgate, he should never have been dropped for Koeman because he was playing that well. That to me was a really, really, really strange decision to take him on, because he was doing well. And again, we want to get that. We want Everton side to be, if you're in this side, it's because you're playing well. Yeah. It's not because your name is James Coleman or your name is Slim Shady or whatever. You're in the team because you're performing, and the Holgate thing didn't sit right with me because he was performing well. But saying that, I understand why Coleman's in, he's a leader and plays for Ireland and everything else. Maybe there's an argument for Mason Holgate coming in alongside Ashley Williams now, because the other two centre-halves aren't performing well, and we've seen him play in the 3 at Old Trafford against Ibrahimovic, and he didn't look out of place. And
it would be more natural because Williams can play on the left-hand side then, and Holgate can play on the right-hand side.
So maybe that's...
And having someone like Seamus Coleman and having Leighton Baines back means that now the back four's actually got a lot of experience in it, and you can just put him in.
Well, we seen John Stones come into the side. He was very I mean, let's be honest, John Stones was piss poor in the air. The size of him, he's tall, he hardly ever wins a header. So he just come in, he was slight, he was a tall lad, but he was slight, wasn't he? Come in and was fantastic when he got on the Everton side, because he just defended. Holgate does exactly the same thing. So the argument for me there, potentially he could come in the centre of the defence. Certainly now, I was disappointed he didn't get in at right back, because he started there and was excellent. Kieran Dowell, not ready maybe, but Koeman, he is ready. The other player who is on everyone's lips at the moment in and around the club, Bolton tried to take him, is Liam Walsh. He's a fantastic footballer, but we haven't seen him at this level, so we don't know whether that will pan out or it won't. But he's the one. He's the one
well,
for me.
Tom Davies, we thought he would play, and it was sad that he wasn't even on the bench. I thought it was a bit of a piss take, if I'm honest. After his cameo against Chelsea. Now, he played 3 times for the England under-19s over the international weekend. He played on the Thursday, the Saturday, and the Tuesday. So a lot of football. But he's a young lad. He didn't play Saturday. He played Sunday for the under-23s. Now, again, not saying, if you can play for the under-23s, you can play. Because obviously, physically, very, very different. But by all accounts, he had a great game. Him and Liam Walsh were fantastic in the middle of that park, with I think Kieran Dowell in front of him as well, so all 3 of them playing. He said after the game he was disappointed that he hadn't been part of the first team squad, but understood why. He also said that he trains every day with the first team. Now he's a first team squad player, and then he drops into the under-23s for his game time, basically. So I suppose from that point of view, he is part of the first team, but he's sort of like I suppose he's the last man almost. So he's getting his game time during the 23s.
But it is a sensible approach.
Training with the first team, so I suppose he's not that far away, but I think he clearly probably felt that he was ready for that game. And if he's training with him every day, then the manager obviously feels that he's good enough to be training, because what we learned from the manager already is he does make a lot of decisions from the training. You know, he looked at Nias in training, and seems like he's looking at Valencia and training. He makes those decisions. So the fact that he's training with the first team says to me that he's not far away. But that game against Swansea was perfect for me. Whatever you think about James McCarthy, he has been out for a month. He was out for a month.
Yeah,
this lad comes on against Chelsea is great, and you know I just thought that was the game just to bed him in. Because you look at it now, you look at the next few games and you go, where would you play? You know where?
Gareth Barry's got to come back in.
Gareth Barry comes back in. You look at it and go,
he'll go to the bench.
And you look at it and think, what's right? You know, is it right to bring him in these tough games coming up? And that was the disappointing thing. But I think the whole squad needs freshening up, because we spoke about it many times. You look at some of our players and you just think, he's not good enough and he'll be leaving the club, so what's the point of him having around the 13 when there's other kids? And as I say, there's Holgate defensively. Midfield, you've got this lad, you've also got John Joe Kenny, who's said he doesn't want to go out on loan because he wants to be in and around, he wants to be seen. Yeah. He said, you know, it's out of sight, out of mind when you go on loan. He said, I want to be here every day, training, showing the manager what I've got. I want to be able to come in at right back. So there's a kid who's fighting for his place. There's as I say, there's
players like Joe Williams who was
Harry Carsley, who scored something with like 9 goals or something in like 9 games or something starts. You've got Calvin Lewin, who's scoring goals for the under-20s. You know, he's been on the bench once because we had no against West Ham because obviously, you know, Liam Walsh, who was terrific last season at Yeovil. Everyone said he was the best player at Yeovil. He's a kid that he would grab and get by the scruff of the neck. You've got a real sense of excitement underneath the first team. Now I know for the last few years, and Moyes bemoaned this, and Martinez bemoaned it, he kept on saying the gap's too big. The gap is too big between the under-21 league and the first team. Now to be stepped up to the under-23s, they've been playing in the Czech Trade Trophy, Czech Trade Trophy as well, just to give them that little bit of a gap to bridge the gap as well. So they've been getting a little bit more used to the rough and tough, and you just think, because we as fans, not only do we love it, but we expect it. We expect kids to be coming through and playing for Everton Football Club. It's been happening since year dot for Everton. You know, even if you want to go, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are, there'll always be someone who's come through. You know, whether it be in the 60s, someone like Joe Royle, 70s, someone like Mick Lyons, you know, 80s, our youth team. You know, our youth team went into the first team to help us win the league. You know, the 90s weren't quite as good, but we still had, you know, we still had players that we watched every week going into the first team. They, you know, kept us going. Some of these players, Bawley leaving, Fanny Jeffers leaving.
You can forget Neil Moore.
I played
Eddie Yalch.
Played with Neil Moore. He's a good player.
Billy Kenny.
Let's say about Billy Kelly.
Billy Kenny.
Yeah. Fantastic football. Just bad things happen. You know, then Hibbert and Osman and Barkley and we've seen them all.
They've all come through.
Seen them all. They've all come through. Even Jags and Baines, although their path very different. But we've had these players. We've been used to having players. We've like missed out the most obvious one, Wayne Rooney. Like, but we've been used to having all these players come through, and we want it and we demand it. And I think it's, I don't know, maybe this year is just a little, maybe for some of them, but for this lad, I just think it's ready to happen now.
I think it's hard, isn't it? Because obviously the manager's got a responsibility to them, and it's difficult to put them in. We're not playing well. So you'd look at some of them, your Calvert-Lewin, it's good that he was on the bench against West Ham. He's only just come to the club. Yeah, he's doing well. You know, he's not getting hat-tricks every week, but by all accounts, he's not Nias, you know, he's no Nias. By all accounts, he's doing really well. Excuse me. You go down, the youth teams, you look at Anthony Evans, who seems to score every time he plays. You know, got a couple against Liverpool the other week. You've got another lad who, I'm not going to remember his name, but he got a hat-trick the other week, and he's got another one at the weekend again. I'm going to my phone and look, but I'm not going to. But he's another one, a tall centre forward. So there's players in and around there who look like good prospects, but it's whether they can make that step up. But that's why it's infuriating almost with Tom Davies, because he has done. I mean, when we saw Callum Connolly last year against Southampton, I think it was at home, he was brilliant. At right back, had a great game. We saw John Joe Kenny against Norwich.
Yeah. Pennington as
brilliant.
well.
Pennington.
Obviously he's
Pennington.
yeah, no, he's a little bit. I know he's a little bit away.
But he got a knee injury, you know, and he's coming back now. Tyus Browning, we've seen in the first team, not as probably as much as what we thought we were going to, you know, played in the derby, and or he come on in the derby and things like that, disappeared again. You know, like Roberto liked to do. But we have had that little bit of, we've had a taster of some of them. But I've got to say, I've seen a lot of them come in and you look and you go, yeah, you know, he looks alright, but I don't know. This one, he's very, since Ross Barkley, seen Ross Barkley and thought he can play in our first team. Loads of ability when he first came in, he looked really exciting when you knew that he'd be part of the first team. Others, you look and you go, will he be part of the first team? Not so sure. He's been in it, like Conor McAleny had a little taste and then he scored that dipping volley at Arsenal at the end and things like that, but then he went out and you're never convinced he's still at the club. You were never convinced that he was going to be part of it. Other players have been just hit and miss.
It's a fine line, isn't it?
For him, to me, I look at him and just think he should be in our team. Because
it's a fine line, isn't it? Because you get someone like Luke Garbett who comes into the squad. I mean, I remember I was at the Wolfsburg game, the away game. Fantastic that night. He was like a Bane clone, you know, and then a Bane clone.
What's that?
It's like a Bane.
Baines. Oh, Baines clone. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a Baines clone.
A Bane clone.
No, he was like a Baines clone that night. It was brilliant. And then I remember, he got dropped for the Sunday because a half at Baines was back, and it was like we got beat, and it was like, what are you doing again?
And that was another one though. We just had a little bit of a decent run, and then we gone to Wolfsburg and won, and then we went to Spurs, and then that's again. Then you almost feel like you've lost the player because they dicked about with his future, and now it looks like he's almost like he couldn't he's an afterthought.
Couldn't do it at Fulham. He's not doing it at Wigan, and you just think, well, if you're not doing it there, then you won't be doing it for us, will you? In the Premier League, so sometimes you think that these players have only got small windows.
No, the fear is the likes of Ryan Ledson, who's now gone down to Oxford. I believe he was excellent at the weekend. You know, John Lundstrom, he's playing there with him. He's another ex-Everton player. And that is the fear, because obviously Ledson was ticked as one to get in that midfield, and he'll sit in and he'll pass it. And his time came and went. You know, he played against Krasnodar, I think, at home. He lost the game, and Joel done a funny little thing with his leg, and we got beat 1-0. And we didn't see him again, and off he went, off he got shipped. You know, and you look at these and you think,
that's the thing. There's only a small window, isn't there, for their own career as well. They've got to be thinking about their career. They can't be hanging around. They're looking at things going, well, if I get a chance, I'll be able to get into this side. But if I don't get a chance and then they go and buy somebody else, then that's someone else blocking me. And then they get to like 21 or something, and they have to start really seriously thinking about their careers, and some of them have to take a step down. Someone like Adam Forshaw, who is being tipped about getting into the England squad. He goes down, he comes back up, he's now in the Premier League with Middlesbrough, he's being tipped for getting in the England squad. And that happens because they get to a certain age where they're going, I'm not playing, I've got to do that. And it's annoying because you think, I mean, the classic cases, Eric Dyer and Mustafi, you know, not saying they could be helped, because at the time I don't think there was anyone. I think at the time there was players blocking there, and I think it was rightly so.
Dyer Sport wanted too much money for it.
Well, yeah, and it was third party owned, and there was a lot of complications.
The Mustafi one.
Come to the end of this contract, didn't he?
But that was a strange one, Mustafi, because Moyes was excited about him and was like, yeah, he's gone, and then the next minute he just, as some of them do, they just fall off the radar and then they're gone.
I suppose though, it's what we're talking about though, it's a mental thing, isn't it? You're right on the cusp, you're only a young kid, and you know, I had two young lads in the car on Saturday. One played for Everton, one played for Tranmere, and the way they were talking, it felt like every man for themselves at that level. They were talking about pro contracts and having to get in, and it didn't feel like. It honestly felt like the Hunger Games the way they were talking. No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It felt like, honestly, they were talking about each other like with the Hunger Games, it was every man for themselves, like it was all about getting that pro contract, and you can understand that. But I think it's the same it's the same even when you've got that pro contract. You've got to. People go, well, why don't they love the badge like us and all that? Because they don't know whether they're coming or going half the time.
I think he does. He's a big Everton.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is though, is that he'd be sitting there now and he'd be going, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. And if he doesn't get that chance and he falls back into under 23s, he'd be going, I'm too good for any under 23s, but I'm not getting in the Everton side. So what do I do? And he's got to think about himself, hasn't he?
I think if you look at it, it's all about path projection, isn't it? So if he looks at the first team, if I was him, I'd be looking and thinking, okay, Garner's outstanding, he's going to play every week.
Not necessarily his position though.
No, but in midfield, he's a midfield player, isn't he? So Garner, you're going to be partnered in Garner, because Garner's going to be in every week. And you're looking at Gareth Barry, 36, probably his last season.
He could be his replacement.
He could be his replacement. Tom Cleverley, for me, he's miles better than Tom Cleverley. It's not even in there. James McCarthy wants out. He'll know McCarthy wants out. So there's 2 players potentially going out of that position. Possibly 3 with Cleverley. Cleverley's not good enough. So he should be, realistically, he should be on the bench before Cleverley, before McCarthy. Really, McCarthy will always get on the bench because he can play in a few positions. But he should be one of the subs. He should certainly be looking to get in. You have to look at that and think, but if Everton then go to Man United in January and buy Morgan Schneiderlin, who's played 6 minutes or something, then you think, well, hang on, there's another big money midfield player coming in. Now you can understand Koeman going, well, I want Schneiderlin, because he's a very, very good midfield player, and he's ready to play in that Premier League. He knows what it's all about. Still wouldn't be too disheartened if it was him.
Wouldn't he play in the Barkley position?
Because then, I don't know, because I think he can play anywhere.
I think without getting too much.
What would happen with Ross?
Without getting too much into the tactics, okay. I think, and we've said this before, I think Everton can need to play in some games a flat 3 in midfield, and I don't think Barkley shoots a flat 3. I think then you can ship Barkley out to one of the wider positions and start to say, do us a favour, use your brain and play in that position. He's done that this season already, and he can play in one of the flat.
Without a shadow.
And also though, if we're talking about him placing Gareth Barry, then you've got to start getting that dovetailing of him.
I'm saying he'll replace Gareth Barry. Ronald Koeman.
No, but that's what you've got to be looking at.
You see, the thing with him is what I've noticed with Tom Davies when we see him, he's a good competitor, very strong. You know, he's not pushed off the ball easily. Great engine, can get up and down, and he's got a trick or two on him. And what he does is he follows his pass. He's one of the few midfield players that we've got who actually follow the pass. He'll get it, he'll knock it off, he'll carry on running. He won't do what most of our midfield players do, is stop it and admire the pass, lay it off and just watch where the pass goes, or just, if you're McCarthy, he'll jog 3 yards and stop. He knocks it and goes, he's straight after his pass, and he wants to get the ball back, he wants to affect things in the box, and there's not enough of that. You know, when you're looking at other players in and around at 23s, you know, you're hoping that Dowell can make that step up, because he's got loads of ability. Has he got enough?
The other thing is though, the under-23s are top of the league. They're flying, they're doing really, really well, and you just think... And
they just beat it was City, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah, and you just look at it and think, this should be the reward almost for that. Do you know what I mean? You're top of the league, you can have 7 subs on the bench, or 6 outfielders on the bench, right? And you look at those 6 outfielders, and some of them are like, every week it's the same person, but they don't play, or, you know...
we had on the bench, we had Funes Mori and Mason Holgate, didn't we? Yeah. On the bench. Did we need 2 defenders? Did we? That's what you've got to ask yourself.
But he got played right back in the summer as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
we played, he's looked at him in, that's what I mean, so he does 2 positions, doesn't he?
Exactly.
Funes Mori's not going to go and play, play centre back, and play that back.
He just play centre back.
You know, Mason Holgate can play a couple, but Tom Davies could have played full back, or he can play midfield, or he could probably play wide right if you needed someone to protect that right hand side. And that's what your midfield, that's what your substitute bench should be made up of. It should be made up of players, ideally, who can do a couple of things for you. You know, but I don't know. He's ready. Out of all the players we've mentioned, him and Holgate are the 2 that look ready. Kieran Dowell's someone you hope will be able to get that physicality about him. But again, he's not going to know about it because he doesn't play enough. Why didn't them 2 play against Norwich City in the cup at home? We had to watch players who, Aaron Lennon. And I know you've got to give these players a go.
You don't though.
But Kieran Dowell and Tom Davies.
I think the thing, another thing I would say is as well is, you watch a game like we watched on Saturday, playing against Swansea, and you've seen all the same old players. You've seen Morales, you've seen Delafeu, you've seen James McCarthy, you've seen all the same players. You know, you've seen games with Cleverley. We've seen all the same players. Lennon, who you look at and go, you're not good enough. We know you're not good enough. but you're still getting games.
Yeah.
And people get frustrated with that in of itself, because you go, well, we've seen this before. We know what he can and can't do, and the crowd don't respond to that. I think when you bring players like him in, and you bring young players through, fans are. Let's be honest. We can be. Goodison can be a not nice place at times for the home team. You know, we get very frustrated and very angry. I think our players not being able to do simple things like pass and run, and kick and shoot.
That's okay.
But when you have younger players, I think fans, especially, if younger players come in and you can see it, and there's an anticipation of, because you've heard good things. I think the fans chill out a bit. They go, well, this is a young lad. I've tried something, it hasn't worked.
Give him 6 games, then they'll be honest about it.
Yeah, of course. You if you see a player making mistakes all the time and they're like 28, you go, what are you doing? But if you see a young player try something, you go, tried that. Because a lot of it gets beaten out of them as well. Them trying these.
That's the safety, isn't it?
Yeah.
The safety aspect comes.
So your young player comes in, maybe having a couple of young players in and around the team as well would be
boost the morale.
It boosts the morale of everybody. And also you got them on the bench, you're like, oh, that kid everyone's talking about, coming on.
He's warming up, yeah.
I can't wait to see him. Let's see what he's all about. It's almost like having a new player. It's almost like when you sign a new player.
You've just got to remember that responsibility of making sure they are.
But I think that's why, though, isn't it? But when the fans have that responsibility as well, and I do think we have the type of fans that look after young players. I don't think we get on the backs of young players. We get on the backs of other players, but I don't think we get on the backs of young players. I know loads of people will be screaming out, going, "What about Ross Barkley?" Ross Barkley's not a young player. I'm sorry, he's not a young player anymore. He's 22. He's not a young player anymore. He could have fought wars by now. He's in the army. He's not a young. He's not though. He's not. He's got what, 4 years of Premier League experience. He is even more. I've 4 years of Premier League experience. 5, 6 if you want to count Championship football as well. He's got.
I thought you want to say Championship manager.
No.
Yeah, he's 6 years in on Champ manager.
Yeah, he's finished. He's an experienced player but I think we look after our young players when they're coming through, and I think that could help the team.
Well, it's something different as well, isn't it? It's a fresh impetus. At the moment, we can't do anything with our personnel until January. And don't forget, in January we lose Ghana and we lose Balassi, to the African Cup of Nations. So we're losing 2 of our most influential players at this moment in time. Is he going to be ready? Will he have to? Are we just going to have Cleverley, McCarthy and Barry in midfield again, who we know everything about them? Or are we going to go mix it with someone who's totally different? Someone who's going to come in and go, you know what, I'm going to take this game by the scruff of the neck. I'm going to do things my way. I'm going to try and create. And given a different outlook on the game when you're playing it, other players will respond to that. He's doing things that they're not. Our midfield players don't normally happen. And we'll never know if he's good enough if he's never played. Koeman he's got a responsibility to make sure they're ready. You can't go, let's put Calvert-Lewin in, let's put Joe Williams in, let's put Liam Walsh in, and they go in, we get beat 4-0 and them kids have a nightmare and the confidence goes. So he is trying to weigh that up. But like I say, we've seen him a few times in the first team, he's not looked out of place. And the manager's brought him on. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that the manager's actually used him in games. He brought him on at Sunderland. He brought him on 5-0 down against Chelsea the other week. He came on in one of the home, Stoke. He came on for the last 20 or the last 15 against Stoke at home when we won. So he's been in games and he's used them. So that's the bit I can't get my head around. It's not like he's got him on the bench and he's going, I don't think he's ready. He looks good in training, but I don't know if he's ready. Because he's put him on. And to put him on, I got asked, I think I said this after the final word at Chelsea, I got asked by a Liverpool fan who was like, do you think it was irresponsible of the manager to put a kid on a 5-0 down? I'd be fuming if that was Klopp. And I was like, no, because it was a free game for him. He'd get me 5-0, it didn't matter. And yet he came on and stood up to them. He's that kind of player. He's that kind of player, though, isn't he? He's come on and done.
That's why I think we're all so hopeful of him, because he is that kind of player. He just the game against Norwich last season, he played the game and he just strolled round at his own pace, and you can see it in his own head. He's like, I know, and I think that's half the battle. Whereas you look at someone like Kieran Dahl, and not sure whether in his head he knows he's good enough Do you know what I mean? Whereas I look at him and I think, you're good enough. But I think someone like Kieran, I watch Kieran down. I think at under 23 levels, he knows.
Yeah.
He knows he's good enough.
He does all it.
But you don't know whether he's got the you don't know whether in his own head, he's got the confidence. He might need a few games. But with him, I just think he knows.
Yeah. It comes across like that, doesn't it? Dal, like you say, he's comfortable at that 23s. He'll meg people. He'll chip goalies from 50 yards. Can you do it in the Premier League? The only way you find out is by playing those games, and at some stage Ronald Koeman's got to say, right, we need to get him on the bench and we need to give him 10-15 minutes in the end of the games. Hopefully Everton will be playing better and start winning some games so that you can afford them that little bit of comfort.
I suppose in the second half of the season it might get a little bit easier because the position will be a little bit more cemented. Whereas it was all about this season getting a good start, getting a good base of where we are. That's not really established yet. I know we're 7th and we've been 7th for a few weeks, but we're teetering obviously.
Well, we're dropping, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because we were 2nd.
Yeah.
So we're dropping.
But we're teetering at the moment because of all the games we've got coming up and the fact that other teams below us have sort of caught us up.
It can go either way, can't it? We can stand up and be counted.
We've been saying that for weeks, haven't
we? No, but we can stand up and be counted and win a couple of
But if we get to like March time and we've sort of cemented that, but then again, I suppose if they're chasing something.
Chasing Europa League, aren't they?
But so, tell us what you think. You think some of these players are ready? If there's any players we haven't mentioned, if you go and watch the under-23s regularly, it's something that me and Baz certainly need to start doing. I think we're going to try and catch some under-23s games so we can have more of an idea. But if there's anyone out there that you've seen, let us know. If there's someone that you think is ready, tell us. And the players we've mentioned, this fella here, Tom Davies, you think he's ready to go in the first team? Kieran Dahl, is he another one? Are they ready to go in? Liam Walsh, John Joe, Kenny. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is it time Ronald Koeman got rid of the deadwood and replaced it with some of these young players? Let us know. This has been the Tuesday topic on Toffee TV.